If you're terrified of disappointing people, I already know something about your life. You've probably spent way too much of it managing other people's emotions instead of your own. And I hate that for you, because somewhere along the way, you started believing that being a good woman meant being endlessly available, endlessly agreeable, endlessly understanding, while quietly abandoning yourself in tiny little ways that added up over the years. Here's what changed my life. I realized disappointment isn't an emergency. Someone being disappointed with me doesn't automatically mean I've done something wrong. That sentence alone should be framed on a wall somewhere. People experience disappointment for one simple reason. Their expectation didn't match reality. That's it. It doesn't automatically make you selfish. It doesn't automatically make you mean. Sometimes it just means you're a human being with boundaries and a calendar and your own dreams. I used to think saying no meant I had to come up with a beautiful, perfectly logical explanation that nobody could argue with. Now, no is a complete sentence wearing expensive perfume. I don't owe everyone a courtroom presentation every time I protect my peace. And the funniest part is, the people who get the angriest when you stop overextending yourself are usually the people who benefited the most from you having no boundaries. That's information. Keep it. I remember realizing I was making decisions based on avoiding guilt instead of creating joy. That is such a miserable way to live. I'd say yes because I didn't want someone to feel rejected. I'd answer calls I didn't want to answer because I didn't want someone thinking I was rude. I'd rearrange my schedule because I didn't want someone thinking I was difficult. Meanwhile, I was the one constantly disappointed. I was disappointing myself every single day. Nobody talks enough about that. We act like protecting other people's feelings is noble, but what about protecting your own? Why is everyone else's emotional comfort somehow your full-time job? It's not. Adults are allowed to survive hearing no. Healthy people recover from disappointment all the time. In fact, letting people experience reasonable disappointment is actually respectful because you're treating them like capable adults instead of fragile little glass ornaments. I also need you to notice how often people confuse access with love. Just because someone loves you doesn't mean they get unlimited access to your time, your energy, your attention, or your emotional bandwidth. Love without boundaries becomes entitlement incredibly fast. And entitlement is impossible to satisfy because every time you give more, the baseline moves. Suddenly, what was once a favor becomes an expectation, then an obligation, then somehow you're the villain the first time you say no. That's not love. That's poor boundary training. Here's something that completely rewired my brain. Every yes automatically creates a no somewhere else. If I say yes to something I don't actually want, I'm saying no to my rest, no to my priorities, no to my own goals, no to the version of me I'm trying to become. So now I ask myself one question. Who am I disappointing if I say yes? Because for years, the answer was always me. And I finally decided I was done making myself the collateral damage in everyone else's happiness. You don't become magnetic because everybody likes you. You become magnetic because people know you're honest. They know your yes actually means yes. They know your kindness isn't performative because it isn't handed out from obligation. It's chosen. And chosen kindness feels completely different. So disappoint people politely, calmly, without making yourself the villain in your own head. Let someone be mildly frustrated because you protected your peace. Let someone adjust to the reality that you have standards now. They'll survive. And if they don't, that relationship was depending on your self-abandonment to function in the first place. I don't know about you, but I'm no longer interested in earning love by exhausting myself. I'd rather be deeply respected than endlessly available. I'd rather disappoint someone for an afternoon than disappoint myself for another year. That's a trade I'll make every single time. Love you no matter what.